Welcome to 12.3's Z-School number 20.18, we think. Today's topic will be how to deduplicate your database. Databases get messy over time, and one of the ways they get messy is with duplicate records, or records that, from a computer's point of view, aren't duplicates, but to us, we know that those two records are the same person or same activity. So before we talk about deduplicating a database, we're going to talk about trying to prevent duplicates, because the best way to get rid of them is to not have them in the first place. One trick that Zoho lets you do that I want to bring up is when you're in a module, say leads, you can put a rule in there that says no unique values, we'll call it that. So I'm going to go to the customization screen for leads. And of course, this was talked about in one of our earlier sessions, way earlier. I'm going to go to the standard layout, and this is all my leads fields in here. And the record I recommend you use the most for this feature is email. In other words, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the three dots on the email record, and it says here, do not allow duplicate values. So that means you can't have two leads with the same email address. You don't want last name, because two people named Smith would violate the rule. You wouldn't be able to add the second guy named Smith. And so same with city, you could only have one person from a city. But it is practical to not allow duplicate values on email. There's quite often, you might know two people named Jim Smith. They're different people, but they'll have different emails. They have the same name, but they'll have different emails. So we'll go here to email. We'll say, do not allow duplicate values. And when you do that, I know it's very gray here, but it now says in parentheses, unique. In other words, every email must be unique. And so we'll save that. And so we've added that rule. Now, that doesn't clean up anything that already exists, but going forward, you won't be able to add a second lead with the same email address. It could cause problems if you have what's called a group email, like sales@soandso.com. Could be two people who share an email, but that's less and less likely. Most people have their own email, and it's unique to them. So do that going forward. It can cut down on duplicates. Of course, only contacts and leads have email addresses. Accounts do not. And so you can't really, you could have a unique company name, but that doesn't always work either. So there's a couple of kinds of duplicates in the system. There are exact duplicates. We'll call them clone records, where the two records are identical in every respect. It's Jim Smith at ABC Company and Jim Smith at ABC Company. Then you have these fuzzy duplicates where it's Jim Smith and it's James Smith, and it's ABC Co., not ABC Company. And so as humans, we look at those two records and we go, that's probably the same guy. He's got the same phone number, same address, same email, but his name's different. And so those are a little bit harder to find because computers don't match on them so well. But let's see what we can do. Now we're in a demo system here, and it's very lightly populated. We only have, I think, 71 leads in here. So we don't have a lot of leads, so we don't have a lot of duplicates. See, a total of 71. I was kind of going through this database manually. We're sorting by, we'll sort by, say, lead name, and I believe it is first name. So you can sometimes just scroll through a database. For instance, I have two people here named Greg Bauer, same phone number, different mobile number, same company. One has an email, one doesn't. So they appear to maybe be the same person, but there's differences. But we can see that we have doubles. What I'm actually going to do here, and then I see I have Ray Beasley Jr., Ray Beasley Sr. So two people, same name. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to take one person here, Ryan Beaumont. And there's a little feature over here in the 3 dots of Ryan called clone. All clone does is make an exact copy of Ryan. The new one will be the exact same as the old one. Why would you use this feature? You met a second person there, so I can just change his name and his email, but his address and everything else about him is the same. It's easier to put in a second person at a company this way, possibly, than it is to start from a blank sheet. So you can clone a guy or girl and just change whatever you need to change. But I'm going to just save this record. Oh, and look at that. I violated my lead. I can't do this. I have to give him a different email address. Hey, that works. All right, I can't clone him. I've already cloned somebody in contacts, so I'll show you that. Let's do that. We're going to go to contacts. Now, this contacts database is very light in this thing. There's only 13 people. I thought I created, so we'll take Leota here, and I will clone her. Now, remember, I did not put the unique rule on my contacts. Probably should, but I should be able to clone Leota here. Save her, and I can. So now I've got 2 records that are really identical. And if I go to my list, sort on contact name, my 2 Leotas will be right next to each other. And the reason I wanted to show you this is the first feature is when you're on what's called a list view. So I'm on my contacts list view. You come over to the 3 dots, and it says deduplicate contacts. So we'll go through this slowly. And they'll ask you what you want to search on. You can only search on these 4 fields, which is kind of unfortunate sometimes. But we can pick one or a combination of fields. So if 2 records have identical emails, we could say that's enough. They're the same person. But we might want to say email and phone number. That combination is uniquely identifies somebody. So we'll do this and say go. And now it's going to do 2 things here. The first one's called an auto merge. And what the auto merge does is if it finds 2 identical records, like Leota's, it should just magically combine them. But if the 2 records are different, same email, but different names, like Jim and James, that's a conflict. It doesn't know which name is better. Maybe they have a different address. It doesn't know which address is correct. So then those, you will have to go in and fix them yourself, but they will point them out to you. So this deduplication does 2 things. It will find identical records and combine them for you, but then it will bring up a list of records that need looking at. So we'll say go. It can take a couple of minutes. Generally, this goes pretty fast. It really depends on the size of your database. We'll say okay, and you'll got a little message. And so the message is 1 contact was merged successfully, and I'm sure that's Leota because we cloned her and she is an identical copy. But then a few other records need to be, were found. So I will resolve it now. And it will show me, now we don't have, there's only 13 records in this database, so there's not going to be much to look at here, but I did put I have Jeff at joebroker123.com. There's 2 duplicates with the same email address. So we view them. And what Zoho does is it's showing me the 2 records. And you'll see in one of them, his name is Joseph and the other one is Joe. So again, they have the same email address. They have the same phone numbers. Their companies are slightly different. So wherever there's a conflict, you get a choice of which name you want to keep. Because the idea here is we're going to, in the old days of computers, they called it merge and purge. We're going to merge the 2 records into one and delete the other. Everything about the 2 records will combine. And we keep going. Wherever there's a conflict, They want, like this one has an address. And so by default, it figures you want the populated field, not the empty field. But if there were two different addresses, you'd have to pick which one is better. So this is a little bit of a manual operation, right? If you have 1,000 duplicate records, they want you to go through each pair and pick the better one. You can actually do 3 at a time. If it found 3 dupes, it would show you 3 columns. And you could pick the best of the 3. But this can take a little bit of time. But obviously, Zoho has no idea if the name should be brokers little r or brokers big R. They just don't know. They don't know which address is the more correct address. So that you hit the merge button, you'll get a little warning that there is no undo. Everything will combine. If each one had an opportunity or had some activity or some notes or some attachments, those will roll into the surviving record. So you won't lose any related data. But if you do this, they're also telling you that there is no undo. So if you're going to go through the database and really make major changes, you probably want to make a backup first. We get time today. We'll talk about how to do that. And so those 2 records have been merged. Now I've got 2 more here, these Homer records. So we'll go through, look at those. These 2 records are clearly different. There's Waylon Smithers and Homer Simpson, but they have the same email. So one's purchasing, one's president. Clearly, these 2 records are very different. I might want to just give them a different email and let them continue to be different. So we'll cancel this one. And so this was the, we went to the module. We just deduplicated the contacts module. We went to the contacts list. And we went over here to deduplicate, and it did 2 things. It auto-resolved Leota. You see, I only have 1 Leota left. That was automatic because Leota was an absolute copy. Absolute copies are rare, but they can pop up sometimes. Somebody did an import a second time, stuff like that. And then we merged our Joe Broker. We only have 1 Joe Broker now. So we're down to 12 records. So we'll do the same thing for leads. Put a couple of doubles in there. Again, I go to leads. I've got 71. We can do a dedupe. Same thing. We pick what we want to do it on. We could do it on phone number. We'll try phone number. Phone number is not as unique as email, right? People in the same office could share a same number. And so you get the same message, can take a few minutes. 71 records shouldn't take long at all. And it did not auto-resolve anything, but it did find some duplicates. So we can go in here, and these are people with the same number, and I should see those 2 Greg Bowers. Of course, it's phone numbers, but it was this guy right here. So there's 9 people with a 555. Those are the sample records that Zoho gave us. I know that the Greg Bauer one is this 3117, so we'll click on View. And again, you can see the same thing. We have a conflict here with the mobile phone number. We don't know which one's right. And that's the only conflict we have. So I'm going to leave this alone, though, because I want to show you a second way to dedupe records. And this is more, if I had to show you this feature here should really only be done by admins. Maybe make a backup first, because if you have a 50,000 record database, it could tear through and find hundreds or thousands of duplicates. You may not want everybody in your company to have that ability. You might not want to show them this feature. I can show you how to take this feature away too. But you might want to give them the ability to just find 2 records and just merge the 2, not run through the whole database. So we're going to do that next. I'm going to cancel out of here. Remember, we were looking at our list of leads, and we're scrolling down and we see that, here's, well, that same name, two different emails. This is probably a person who moved. Let's go down to Greg Bauer. So we see that we have two Greg Bauers. Same phone number, same company, although see how the company's a little bit different. And I just want to get rid of those two. I don't want to run through the whole database and do a big project. I just see two. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Greg. So now I'm in a contact record. I'm not in the contact list. And I go over to the three dots, and it says find and merge duplicates, a little bit different. But it's only going to find duplicates of this record. So we'll go in here. This is a little bit different. I can actually search on up to 6 fields: first name, last name, company, email address, and it says match any of the criteria. So I'm getting anybody really these are 3 people whose first name is Greg. And I can see that I could have changed this to all criteria. So I'll just show you this. It's a lot of clicking here. It can be a lot of work. But I might just want to find records named Greg and Bauer. Everything else I've turned off. When I do that, I just find these two. If I say any, now I'm looking for people named Greg or Bauer. And I find 3 because Greg Beaumont has the same first name. So you can do a little bit of more finer searching. We could just search on a mobile phone number. We didn't have that ability when we did the large search. So I've got 3 results here, and I can clearly see Greg Beaumont's different, but these 2 here appear to be double. So I just check off the ones I want to combine. And when I check those 2, I'm brought back to the same screen. Okay, which company name do you like better? Which phone number is right? You can just pick. Wherever there's no conflict, there's nothing to think about. So hit merge, and now I've combined them. So this is, all I did was clean up the Greg Bauers. I didn't clean up the Leotas or anybody else. But you may want to give your people this ability. Of course, if the record was just created yesterday and it's largely empty, and you just don't want the second record, I could have just deleted one of the Gregs. But if I delete the Greg, I'm going to delete all the notes and history and opportunities associated with that Greg record. So be careful about just deleting a record. To get rid of a duplicate, you probably want to merge it. If it's been in the system for a while, there's going to be things attached to it. But if it was just added yesterday, or if it was a web lead that came in and somehow got created, just get rid of it. Work with the other record. And so this is deduplicating. So just to review, when you're on the view page, you can go over to the 3 dots, and it will deduplicate the entire module. And it'll take care of the exact matches for you, but the ones with conflicts, you need to resolve those. If you're in a record like Greg Bauer, you can search for other Greg Bauers, especially if you know you have them. So the 2 things I touched on that I just want to add here. Oh, we got chat. Hold on. Can you merge accounts as well? Does it merge invoices? Yes. Yep, we can merge any module really. So I can go to accounts, hit the 3 dots. Now, deduplicate accounts. I don't have an email field on the account, right? Companies don't have email. And in the case of companies, you could add an email field, but that's usually sales at or support at. It's what's called a group email. But you can do the account name, and you'll see if I do that, I probably won't find any. Of course, it's going to auto merge again, but let's just see. But you could do it by website, and I don't think we found anything. I got Brokers R Us and Brokers R Us. Those are 2 different companies. It's not a fuzzy match. It's an exact match down to the punctuation and down to the capitalization. And it found no duplicates. So Had I done it on phone number, I think it would find lots, right? So you can deduplicate anything. And again, when you merge the two records, they will, the invoices and so forth would survive. Lori did bring up a good point, though. If you use Zoho Books, which is, the accounting app for Zoho, and we'll show you that someday. If you have transactions against one of these records, it's a little bit harder to delete the record. There's money and against it. It's not easy to delete a record that's got sales on it, right? Because it'll delete out of the accounting system. Okay, so the two things I touched on are making a backup. So I'll review Zoho's backup. A little bit of a side journey here, but you go to the wrench, and under data administration is data backup. And you get 2 backups. Oh, we've set up this before on April 30th. You get 2 free backups a month. And otherwise, you could do one for $10. I don't know if anybody's ever been charged. I'm not sure. But so we've picked Thursday twice a month. And what happens is, I guess I've stopped it too, because it looks like it hasn't run since the 30th. Is you will get an email every 2 weeks when this backup is done saying your backup is ready for download. So they don't send you a huge attachment in the email. They just tell you, here's your backup. If you want to download it, click on this link and you get your backup. I stopped it here on, I guess I could start it. How do I start it? It's running. Yeah, so we'll make a backup. So we scheduled it, and it's in progress. This database won't take long to back up. It can take, maybe a half an hour if you have a lot. You get 2 files. One is the data, and the other is all your attachments. And so we're done. So here's our data, and here's our attachments, and I can actually just click them here. And there it is. It's a big zip file. And if you're doing deduping like we've been talking about, you probably don't need to back up your attachments. I've never seen, I'll knock on whatever, I've never seen anybody lose any data on a Zoho system. Zoho runs redundant servers, so even if a city had an earthquake or something, there's another, in the US, it's San Antonio and Seattle. They run mirror image centers, and so there's already a backup of every second being made of your data. But anyway, some people just want the security of having a database backup, and so you have it. If things really went awry with your dedupe, you could restore it. Be a lot of work, but you have your data. So that's how you back it up. Last thing I want to touch on is how to keep users from mass merging. And this goes to what's called users and control. Again, you can go to the wrench. It's under users and control, security control. And we have these things called profiles. In our system, we only have 2 kinds of users, administrators and standard. We could make other kinds of profiles, like a marketing person or a accounting person. Maybe accounting people don't need to see deals because they don't close deals or create them. So you can go in and turn certain features on and off for different users. If I go to a standard user here, there's all of these features here, and somewhere down here will be I should have found this before we did this. Mass update, mass delete, mass transfer. There's a mail merge. That's email. This might be a admin only feature, something you can't even give to people, so you don't have to worry about taking it away. Some other things you could do if you don't trust a basic user is you could just take away their ability to delete a lead. If you do that, then by definition, they won't be able to do a merge, because they won't. Part of merge is deleting the bad record, and they won't be able to do that. Anybody sees the mass merge? This might be something that's just inherently only. Let's just see what we have in here. Might be inherently only migrate, import. Might be only a CRM thing. I mean, administrative thing. So it might be something you don't want to show everybody to run through it. They may not be able to do it anyway. I could log in as user 2. Maybe we'll do that real quick. I will log out of here. Let's see what user 2 sees. Ooh. Lauren, you set this password up? Oh. Yeah, I don't know the password off the top of my head, so we'll leave that. I'm pretty sure non-admin user can't use that mass update feature. All right, I'm going to stop recording.